Good day, as we say in Danish, and that is the same as saying hello, hello, or hi, hi. And welcome here to week 47 in my Stitched Circle Show Challenge. If you just have hit this video and you're thinking, what is he talking about? Find a little word more here under the video, and there will be a link to the playlist where all the previous weeks are in the playlist. And find week 1, and there I will tell you everything about this challenge. But shortly, it's a Dogma rule challenge where I every week give a set of Dogma rules you can follow and do a little embroidery. And there also is a link for a Facebook group if you want to participate. I know it's late in the year now, and there are only, when we have done today, there will be 5 weeks more, but the challenges will be lying there for as long as Facebook is existing and the group is there. So you can always find them and do them afterwards, that if you want to. You don't have to say, oh, it's so late in the year, so I don't want to do it. You can always do it. There also is a link for how to make a cover. And I know I will make a new one because my book is so chunky and fat, so it can't hardly close. But that would be when I've done with the whole year, so I know exactly how fat or chunky it ends up. And what else is there under the little word more here? There was a playlist and the Facebook group and yeah, there also, if you don't, if you're doing this and you don't want to be on Facebook, and I totally understand that, perhaps you're on Instagram and I've made 2 hashtags, you can use them so I can see what you're doing there. For me, it's very exciting to see all the members' works and how, even though they have the same couple of rules and their embroideries end up differently, and that is so very nice to see, and I'm so grateful to all of you who are doing the challenge and are showing your works, so we all can be inspired by that. I don't think, yeah, my name is Lisbeth and I'm the host for this challenge. I'm Danish, so pardon my very bumpy English, but I hope you can see what I'm doing. But let us get started. I have 2 signatures here in my book, but I have just taken one of them out because it is so chunky. So let us see here where I left you last time. And this is where I left you last week. And I just put a little piece of fabric over here because I have already written the Dogma rules there. So you can see like that, it is under there. So away with that. So I am ready for putting my embroidery in here when I'm done today. So here comes the rule for week 47. Find a piece of fabric in a blue, green or turquoise color. Sorry if I made you dizzy, that was not the meaning, but I have chosen this piece of fabric because I think it looks nice to the one you just saw in the book, and I like my spreads to look nice. And there are many different colors in my book, but that is, I don't mind that as long as my spreads looks nice. So that is my piece of fabric. The other thing I want you to use this week is a kind of a cord. And I have this cord here. It is not very thick, but, and it is, I don't know what it is made of, but it's some kind of synthetic something. And I think they are meant for curtains, for rolling curtains up and down, or something like that. I have a big spool of it. But the nice thing about this is if you're, it has like its will of its own. You can really go around in every direction with it. I know many of you probably don't have exactly that kind of coat, but perhaps you have a rubber coat. This is made of rubber, or perhaps you have a coat made of leather. You can use that also. And if you don't have any of these things, you must just use a thicker yarn instead. But I can also, and I will show it to you later, show you how you can knit a coat yourself. Very easy, very easy. Yeah, and these were the materials, and again trace a circle here. So rule number 2 is to use the counting, the stitch counting. It's not a stitch, it's many stitches, but use the counting or count something down. And I want you to go inside the circle with the cord any way you want to do it, or travel the way that the cord wants to go. Or if you don't have a cord who has like a little memory like this one has, perhaps you decide how to maneuver it round inside the circle, and then couch it down. And rule number 3 is to use black thread to couch it down. So it would just be this thing here that is visible. And oh, I had a thought, and now it flew away. I was thinking of, yeah, I can't just remember it right now. Yes, I know what it was. Don't overlap any places. It's forbidden to overlap. You must go around in all kinds of ways, however you want to do it. There are many ways you can do this. So play with it and figure out how you want it. So this was the materials and the rules. And here I will show you how you can knit a coat yourself. I have taken quite thick yarn and some very big needles, and of course it isn't meaning that you should do that, because you want a very quite thin cord. But so you can, this is just for you to be able to see what I'm doing. I have taken big needles and a chunky yarn. But the only thing I'm doing is I am casting on 4 stitches, and it doesn't matter how you cast them on, do it like you will. And now your stitches is sitting there. Then you turn. You have to have these sock needles or double pointed needles, or a circular needle. You can't have one of these jumper needles where there's a knot here on the end. So you push them at the other direction on the needle, and then you take your thread here, and then you just knit the 4 stitches there, and they are sitting there. And again you just push them down in the other end. You push them always from left to right, and you knit them again. And this is all you do all the time. As soon as I have knitted a little and down in the other end, I will just remove that. You shall see here in a moment. And perhaps some of you think I'm knitting in a funny way, but that is the way we knit. It is just knit stitches, no purl or anything. But it doesn't matter what kind of way you stitch. I know you English people, I think you stitch in a funny way, but that's just because I have learned it like this. So always push it from the left to the right. There. And then you can, oops, now it is falling down here. There. And the other way. Perhaps I should have taken a lighter yarn, a light color. There. Down at the other end again. Down in the other end, and you can see this is growing quite fast. I don't know how long you need it. I had cut 1 meter off in the cord I have, and I will be using, but I can see how much I have left when I'm done. But it, of course, it depends on how close you're putting yours, but cover most of your fabric with the couching. Yeah. It isn't a knitting video this here, but it is a nice way of making a cord. And you can see here, if I do a little, it is round. It is a hollow round cord now. This was the back side here, you can see. And this is the front. It is round, and you have a nice cord that way. So you can knit one yourself in a much thinner yarn than this, of course, so you don't get a thick one. But if you don't have any of these things, you must just use, yeah, for instance, you could use this here and couch that down. Okay, so let us start the sewing. I have just measured mine, and it is exactly when I hold it like this and at the other end like this, and I stretch my arm totally out. It is all the length of my, if I could fly, you would say the span of my arms here. So that's how long my thread is, so I can see when I'm done how much I have left. Yeah, now for the stitching. I normally don't sew in a hoop, but I think in this case here it is nice to have this thread lying on a stretched, not canvas, but a stretched fabric. So I will try to do that. So I have here the rest of an old sheet, like this, a big piece. And then I will place it so I know where to base it down, and I will place it because I have such a big hoop here. If I take a smaller hoop, it will eat the corners, and perhaps I won't be going out to the corners anyhow, but in this case here, I think I will use this piece of fabric here. So I know I will have to, yeah, sorry for my arm, but this way I know here, should, there, and again, I can come up a little, perhaps so you can see here, and again I can, yeah, I could also have chosen just to let it be as it was, but for the sake of it, I'm just showing you. You must have so much so you can have it in your hoop if you want to do it in a hoop. You don't have to do it in a hoop, but I think it's perhaps is nice. So let us see here and find the middle. So I'm think it's about there. And again, yeah, all is fine. So I will just see here. I have an ordinary machine sewing thread, and I have already threaded my needle, and I will bring you in closer. It is something of a roller coaster today, but I will invisible base this fabric down. So I will just come up here in the corner, and I will go a little in because I want to cut this off when I'm done with all the sewing, and I will cut it off so it is a little smaller than the turquoise fabric here is. Did I mention the color of the fabric? I can't remember, but green, blue or turquoise, in whatever you fancy. So I'm not in frame here, I think. Yeah. I'll just come up, go a couple of threads back, and come up a centimeter ahead. That is that. A couple of threads back, and come up a centimeter ahead. And that is all. That is a very nice way to base that something down. If any of you are elderly or used to sew your own clothes, perhaps you know this as the prick stitch. It is very common for when you sew your own clothes to use this stitch. So I will do this all the way around, and then the fun with the couching can begin. So now this is based down, and then I will put it in my hoop. So you take the smallest ring and put under your, yeah, perhaps again I should come a little up here and put your fabric over it, and yeah, I can see my corners are free here, and then you just squeeze that hoop. Yeah, perhaps I should have opened it a little more, like that. So here it is, and then you can see here, you can tighten the screw here. So now it is sitting here, and I don't know if perhaps I have made it more difficult for myself by using a hoop here when I'm filming, because normally when I'm using a hoop, and that is not very often I use a hoop, but then I often put it against my chest and hold it like this. But we will see. If it's impossible, I will take it out and just do what I normally do. But you can stretch it as much as you like here. Some people also put a strip of gauze or something around here, so you can make it even more tight here. But yeah, it's a preference how tight you want it to be. But now it is sitting there, so I am ready. I have my small piece here, so I can show you. There's two ways of couching something down, and I can show you the way I do it first. And it is just, I'm just coming, yeah, how about using the right end of the needle, not the eye, but the poke thing. I can come up here on one side of the the cord, and then I go down nearly in the same hole right there, and then I go to the same side here and nearly down in the same hole, and I come up on this side and go down nearly the same hole. For me this is the easiest thing, but I know some people, they come up and then they go down and come up a little at the same side as where they went down, and go up that side here. Some think that is easier, but for me it's not easier. Yeah, but you can do it both ways. I think if you yeah, perhaps it depends on how thick or thin, or if you're stab stitching or you're sewing in one work way, it feels a little different. Yeah, but you can't see the difference when they're sitting there. But that is all I am going to do. That's the stitch. So I have threaded my needle here, and then I have my cord, my long cord here, and yeah, I just choose some place to come up. Let me see if I have a knot in the other end, and I have. And again, this hoop is quite big, so I can go a little. There, and I think I will do not a centimeter, but 7, 6, 8 millimeters apart, and just start couching it down. And there's a little thread. One option would be to draw a line and follow that line, but I think it is nicer to just take it as it comes, understanding it this way, that this thread here is yeah, it is you can bend it, and then it would do something of its own, and that you of course can follow, or you don't follow it. That is up to you. Let me see if I can. Yeah, it is a quite big hoop to sit with, so I don't know if it would be easier for me not to have it in a hoop. Last time I did this, I had a hoop that was so small, so I better could have this width here. I can nearly go in there, so I can try to put it in a smaller hoop and see if it's okay. I miss the corners, so I can take it out. That is what I think I will try. This big hoop here is, I think it's too big to sit with here. So I will try and see what works best. But I will just let this thread walk around here on my fabric and see what comes up. Okay. Holy moly, I don't know where I have my head today. Yeah, I have forgotten to trace the circle. Why didn't you say something to me? So I had to pick it all up, and while I was doing that, I also found a smaller hoop to see if that works better for me. It has to be a pleasure for you stitching, and if you're fighting with too much fabric or too big a hoop or not having a hoop or whatever the trouble is, do something about it, because it should be nice to do the stitching and not a punishment to do the stitching. But I have traced the circle here now, so I can start all over again. So I think perhaps I could let it go all the way around here first and then do the afterwards. So I will count this down and then we can start the funny thing there. So I have been all around here in the circumference of this circle here, and I'm a world champion in sewing these flaps here onto, so I have just unpicked it again and to loosen this. So take care of that so you don't sew them onto the fabric. So I haven't gone completely up here too, because I don't think it is, yeah, of course you could, but end it nicely, but I just turned it in here. You can say I have reached here, so I think I will just put my thumb here and then I'll do the stitching like this. It is a little easier when the hoop isn't so big as the other one I sat with. I'm nearly running out of thread now. So you can see here, I can do it like this, or I could do it like that, or that, or there's many ways this can run. And you decide how tight or close you want them, but I think I will go for something like this here. It is a little awkward to sit with it like this, and it looks like I'm not really knowing what I'm doing, but it is different to sit under a camera to stitch than it is to sit by yourself. And don't stitch up in the cord either. There, go down there. So I will continue a little, and then I can show it to you. And then I also can put a new thread in my needle. There. You can see, so then you can do it like this, for instance. Yeah, we will see what happens. So curvy, curvy, curvy. So this is the nice thing about this kind of cord here, that it gives such a nice swung. So you can say this kind of decided where it wanted to go here. It is really difficult for me not to put this against my chest here when I'm sewing, but then you can't see it. That's not so smart. Whoops, and there was a thread coming up here. So you can see I'm just, stay away, you white thread, you don't belong here. So you just follow that line it has set for itself. Before anyone asks me what or where I got this coat from, until the start of this year, there was something called the Danish Yarn Association here in Denmark, but sadly it closed here in the spring. But it was a place for both professional and amateurs, where they could buy all kinds of strange and yarns with all kinds of different effects. You could buy paper yarns, and you could buy yarns with, for instance, wool. They were twisted or turned too many, so they were what we call overspun. And you could buy threads with steel inside and different plastic yarns, and this coat was from this place. So but since it is closed, it isn't to get rid of, get hold of, because they don't exist anymore. So yeah, I will continue all the way inside this circle. So I just changed my thread again. You use a lot of thread, obviously, in this kind of sewing. So it is always a little exciting how you will end up. There is one of these threads again, these white threads here, coming up from behind. Yeah, we'll just cut it off. But it is always a little exciting to see if you can end up this nicely, or you are squeezed up in the corner, so to speak. When it is a metaphor because it's a round circle, so I don't think you can be squeezed up in any corners, but there. Let the thread or the cord decide what to do. And you can see I haven't overlapped anywhere until now. And I have no intention of doing it any places. In fact, it is forbidden to overlap here. But you can see right now it is going quite nicely, and that is because the hoop is sitting here on my chest, so I can have both hands free. I know you can get some a kind of, I don't know what it's called, but you can attach it to it so you will still have both your hands free. But since I'm nearly always sewing without a hoop, I don't need such a thing. is a construction where you can squeeze this hoop into a thing, and then there's some legs on it. You can stand on the floor, or you can screw it onto your table. It has a name, but there again my vocabularium isn't so big, so I know what all these special things are named. So but I will continue, and I think I can do something a little more there and let it go up there and end up here. And I think it fits. Yeah, I think I have enough of this, but you can see I have nearly used, I think my wingspan is about 1.5 meters perhaps, but so a meter isn't perhaps enough. So I think in the now I know what it was I was missing to say in the beginning, and that is, of course, I will write the Dogma rules here in the bottom, not in the bottom, but in this description box, so you can read them nice and quietly, and not just hear me blah 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 blah. Let's see if I can squeeze a little more curvy thing in there. But I will continue and show it to you, the last stitches. So I think I have filled this circle out enough so that I would just end it here. So you can see that is all I have left of this 1.5 meter. So the way I just think I will do it is take the last stitch here, go down, and then I just will take and cut it like that, place it, and then I will stitch through it and over it also. There. Come up through the cord and just go down in the cord also. There. Yeah, that was it. And of course I ended up stitching one of my corners in here. So I will cut as much of it off without having to pick the stitches up, so it can be as flat as possible in my book. But you don't need to see me doing that. I'm really good at doing that. And that's one of the reasons why I don't like to sew in a hoop. But it sits nice and flat here. And you can see it is curling and twisting and turning, and I don't hope you have gotten to dizzy doing this here, but yours perhaps will look quite differently. You could choose to do it in all other kinds of ways. Just couch a cord down any way you like inside the circle. I will take some close-ups at the end of the video. Just one thing more, I will take it out of the hoop here and away with my hoop. That is what I meant by putting some fabric or gauze or something around here. Then it is, you can make it even tidier when you squeeze them together here. So I think it is lying quite nice and flat. So now I will just cut here, and hopefully not cut in the fabric. It is a little difficult to do here under the phone, so I will do it by myself, but in short terms I will just cut the fabric off so you can see the white. And you could see it was a waste of white fabric because I've cut it smaller when I set it in a smaller hoop, but nothing is wasted here in this house. I will probably put them in tea or dye them some way, and then they would end up in another collage. So nothing is wasted here. So ready, and the white is cut off so you can't see it, and it lies nice and flat, and that I think perhaps is why it is a good thing to sew this in a hoop. And of course you can also see why I chose to sew with black there and a turquoise fabric and the same color scheme of fabric there, and sew this with a black cord. I have it in black, but I also have it the same cord in red, so I could also have done that, and so then I would have done this differently, but that is just me. And again, I will say, don't rush out and buy a lot of stuff. Use what you have. Perhaps you can also use, if you have jackets or something, there also is sometimes a string inside the hood or in the lower part where the zipper starts. There can also sometimes sit a cord in there, and yeah, find out other things. Perhaps when you dry your clothes outside the cloth line, perhaps if you have a thinner one there, yeah, use your imagination and find something you can couch down. So I will again do the nerve-wracking thing here and put it in my book. And as I also have said many times before, but of course there can be a new one out there who haven't heard it before. You don't have to have a book to be a part of this. You can just make the small samples and enjoy them as they are. You can put them in a box, you can put them on a scroll, you can sew them onto an old sheet, you can buy a sketchbook or whatever you fancy to do with them. But here, now we're close to the end of the year, you will have a lot of very nice samples to look at and be inspired by. If you don't know what to do, look in your book and say, I will combine week 17 with week 51 and see what happens. This is, I don't know what there was in these weeks. It is just an example of what you can use it for. So now it is sitting there. If you have a book where you only have one thing on this side of the page and nothing on the other side of the page, I would prefer to have stitched it onto instead of this double-sided tape. But I'm not that lucky. My book is made so I have something on every page, on both sides of the pages, and I don't want to stitch there and I then come and stitch that in, and then I would be stitching through there. That I don't think would be nice. But isn't that a nice spread? As I said, I will take some close-ups at the end of the video, but else I will say I hope you have enjoyed this video, and I hope you have perhaps learned some tips and tricks and see how you can use the couching way a little different than perhaps other people do it. And I hope you have been inspired to try to do it yourself. It isn't difficult. It is not so, you don't have to do it so very neat. It's just to couch it, the string down there and the cord down there. But I will just say, please be creative, and please take care, and also please be nice to each other. And several has commented on this here during these months. we have been through here. It's a crazy, crazy world out there. So the more kindness you show other people, the better place it would be for them, I think. I really hope things will turn out nice or better out for this world here, or the earth in all its difficult things that's happening. But good, we have the stitching to do, so we can take our brains away from all these things, because if you think them on them 7-Eleven, you will get crazy, and that won't help anybody. So please take care, and I will see you again next Thursday for one of the last weeks in this year's Stitch Circle Show Challenge. Bye bye, farvel, adieu, auf Wiedersehen.